Let's now move on to our fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets submitted to us from Kevin Crutchfield, who writes, "Hey, John, Erin and Notorious RMB. I saw an article that Disney confirmed Disney Plus will not host R-rated content. Just curious what that means for their original programming, as well as Moon Knight specifically. How far can they really push the line as far as PG-13 goes? Will the R-rated content be on Hulu? Thanks." All right. So, yeah, this is one of the things that came out of D23. Now, look, we've all known that Disney's philosophy when it comes to Disney Plus was going to be that's where their more family appropriate content will be. Anything more harder edge will go to Hulu. But it was interesting to hear coming out of D23 that they're actually now just saying it explicitly. No R-rated stuff on Disney Plus, which will not surprise any of us. It's not going to surprise any of us to hear that. We were kind of assuming that. But now they just kind of underlined it and said, yeah, no R-rated stuff on there. And I don't think it's really a question of, well, how much can they get away with, PG-13 violence? I don't think for Disney it's going to be legislated that way. I don't think it's going to be, well, as long as it's not rated R, we can put it on Disney Plus. I think they're going to look at every piece of material they have very carefully and just say, is this, it doesn't have to be kid targeted, but is at least family safe. Maybe not family friendly, but I think Bob Iger and crew are going to be looking at stuff that's going on Disney Plus and say, is it at least family safe? And I think there's a bunch of PG-13 stuff that you can make an argument is not family safe, and a lot of PG-13 content that you can say it is. So I don't think it's going to be R or nothing. The interesting thing to me, though, Rob, when I think about that is in a very competitive landscape now, where you have Netflix and you have Amazon and now you have NBC Universal things coming out and you have HBO Max coming and you have all these stars and all this kind of stuff. Is Disney handcuffing Disney Plus a little bit? Are they giving every other streaming service a little bit of a competitive advantage by drawing that line in the sand for themselves saying no R-rated content? So that's the first question for you, Rob. The second question is, we kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday about Moon Knight, but really, where does that leave Moon Knight? Like, what kind of Moon Knight then can we assume we're going to get, knowing that it's going to be on family safe Disney Plus? How do you see that?
Well, first of all, I think Disney Plus has to be not an R-rated venue. It just can't be. You can't have, which is traditionally going to be, it's a family channel that is a family channel for young kids all the way up to adults. So you can't go R-rated. I don't have a problem with that. Remember, Raiders of the Lost Ark is rated PG. Temple of Doom was PG-13. But I think the thing about Moon Knight, one of the things that I've always loved about Moon Knight, especially early Moon Knight, yes, they dealt with issues like even child abuse. There's an incredible issue that Sienkiewicz drew. But Moon Knight has become a much more violent, even horror. You've got Werewolf by Night. I always saw Moon Knight, and one of the reasons that I love Moon Knight, and people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Moon Knight to me was the romantic version of Batman. He was much more of a noir character. The fact that in his original incarnation with the Sienkiewicz Mensch run for his first single book that started in 1980, he was Jake Lockley. He was a cab driver. He was Mark Spector, the mercenary. He was Stephen Grant, the rich playboy like Bruce Wayne was. And then, of course, his alter ego, Moon Knight. But he could be much more of a noir character if they wanted to do that and lean into, make it more of like a 40s noir film but set now. Because he has the love of his life, Marlene. He does have his friend, Frenchie, that he served with, who flies his helicopter. And basically, he's sort of the Jeremy Irons version of Alfred. They could do it that way and make a kick-ass Moon Knight series that isn't as violent as the comic became. I mean, there was a point where Moon Knight had both of his legs broken. I mean, he was in these horrific fights, horrible physical violence, and they really leaned into just the brutal nature of what he was doing. They don't have to do a great Moon Knight series and go that direction. Then, of course, his descent into madness can be more surreal than it is violent. And I think they could do it great, but of course that would require a great creative team making that show. So we'll see.
I love this image that Ray made for R-rated Disney Plus. That's great. Anyway,
I'm glad that he's not showing Minnie Mouse like doing
something else. Anyway,
doing something else. There's so many options.
Yeah,
to
there's
choose.
so many different things Ray could have done there to give R-rated Mickey.
Thank you.
You know, we often talked about like they're doing a She-Hulk show and a Miss Marvel show as well. If She-Hulk becomes, like we said yesterday, the Ally McBeal or the Boston Legal of superhero procedural legal shows, that could be a wonderful show, and it doesn't have to be R-rated.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't even come close. I don't even think anybody's wondering about those ones. But the Moon Knight stuff a little bit. Erin, you see that Disney Plus, unlike all the other services that are going to be, hey, we can have G-rated content, we can R-rated content. Disney Plus is making a decision not to do that. Good decision, bad decision? How do you see that?
Brilliant decision. And you know, when it comes to drawing a line in the sand and not being the same as everyone else, is that a problem? I think it actually elevates them, because if I am a mom and I've got like 2 kids who are maybe, you know, at that age, maybe like 10, 11, where they're wanting to watch more mature stuff, but they're not really ready for certain, you know, like Handmaid's Tale is dealing with some really heavy stuff. I don't necessarily know if I want my kids watching that. So I know that if I'm busy in this room and my kids are watching the Disney Plus channel, anything that they watch, I don't have to monitor it. I know, okay, they're watching that channel, they're safe on that channel, just don't switch the channel, you know, whereas I don't necessarily know if they're watching Netflix. Are they watching Friends? Well, they're not going to be watching Friends much longer, but, you know, are they watching one show that I'm totally cool with, or are they watching a completely different show that is not going to be something that's appropriate? I love the fact that Disney's saying, hey, parents, anything that your kids watch on our channel is going to be, like you said, not necessarily family friendly, but family safe. You can leave the room while your kid has the television on our channel, and you don't have to worry that all of a sudden the next program is going to come on and there's going to be nudity and violence and all sorts of crazy things happening. I think it's a very smart strategic move, and the fact that they can use Hulu for any darker original programming is great. I also agree with what Robert said. When you're going out the gate and you're creating a show, you can figure out a way to tell the story without necessarily needing to make it R-rated. If you can't tell a good story without having to make it R-rated, that's a problem with your storytelling. The trouble, I think, comes when someone goes, okay, we have a show like Spartacus, for example, and then they try to make it PG-13. Like, you can't retroactively make something less of a rating than what it is.
Which is what they're trying to do with Deadpool right now, by the way. And
look at that. But if you go into it knowing, all right, we don't want to go onto that R edge, let's just figure out a way to creatively. And then also there's a lot of ways that they can allude to things so that a more adult audience will be able to visualize in their head, you know, the darker things that they're intonating, whereas someone who's of a younger age might not necessarily get that deep layer of it.
See, I think one of the things you brought up there, Erin, that is really, really key here is that they do have Hulu. And that's one of the advantages that they have that some of the other services don't. They actually have 2. They have Disney Plus and they have Hulu, and they can put a lot of their stuff on Hulu if that's where they want it to live. And it's a big thing. Bob Iger's has always been about who his brand is and who his demographic is. It's families. Mm-hmm. It always has been. It doesn't have to be family friendly. It just has to be family safe. And I love that notion, the way you put it was like, hey, with Disney Plus, families, your kids may not get what's going on in some of our shows, but you never have to worry about having our streaming service on your television and just running 24/7. You never have to worry about it, because anything that comes on is not going to be something that you as a family or as a parent would object to your kids seeing.
So then what I would do as a parent is I would go, okay, only the Disney Plus channel is accessible to my children. And then they can turn on the TV and watch it anytime they want. And then I have all the other streaming channels on a parent lock or
including
something. Including Hulu.
You know, it's funny. People have always said to me, because I've worked obviously on Star Trek and made documentaries about that. I have heard a lot from people over the years about how Star Trek The Next Generation, which was an adult show that dealt with a lot of interesting adult issues, was also family friendly. And I hear about a lot of people, whole families, generations of families could get together and watch Star Trek The Next Generation. I think that's what Disney Plus should be able to do with their superhero shows. Like Erin, you had just said, if you decide to make a show, you don't have to show explicit sex. You can show two people kissing, and depending on where you put the camera closer to people's lips kissing, it becomes more erotic than if you pull back. There's tricks, and it doesn't mean that you have to be explicit. You just have to be clever.
But what if it's twins?
I'd like to be
well,
in the
then
middle.
Robert takes both of them back into the bedroom, and we just assume we know. And then the kid
Let me
goes,
show
"What are
you
they
my-
doing back there?" And they just go, "Oh,
Here's
well,
my
they're
butterfly
just gonna-"
lightsaber.
Oh my God.
What does that even mean?
Here's my butterfly lightsaber. Anyway, guys, question is for you. How significant do you think it's going to be that Disney Plus is taking this stand? Are you like, hey, this is what we all knew all along. Anyway, no big deal. Or now that you think about it because they're putting an exclamation point on it, do you think there's significance to that? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys.